All right, talking to Paul Masvidal,
Hmm.
and Sean Reinert from Cynic. Now, I have to mention, it was 12 years in between Cynic splitting and Cynic reuniting. Did you always know, Cynic was going to come back one day, or did you think for sure it was dead, or
Oh,
were you even thinking
for
about it?
sure it was dead. Yeah,
Really?
we were absolutely convinced that we would never start the project up again after it dissolved in '96. Um, that was pretty much the idea, was that we were moving on and pursuing new paths as musicians, and we kept working as musicians since then, but no intention of ever bringing the band back. And it was kind of funny because there was definitely a pile of interviews out there that we said that in, and here we are. So it's the amazing part of the creative journey that you kind of don't know where it takes you, and we curiously ended up back here in this project, and it makes sense now, but it certainly didn't back then.
Yeah, we're learning the phrase "never say never" because you never know.
So what was it? Because you two, founding members of the band, you worked on a Death album. You've been doing Aeon Spoke, had a couple albums, right?
Hmm.
What brought you back to Cynic? What to decide to activate it?
Really, the fan base, timing. I mean,
Well, it
there
was
was
the
several
synchronicities.
several
Yeah.
just indicators that were like, well, maybe let's entertain this idea. And the more we entertained it, the more we realized it was pretty effortless. And when you have situations like, certainly in the music or the creative world, that are not a struggle, you learn that that's probably the way you should go. And we had many offers for reunions. We had fans having dreams that they saw us live on a
Well,
reunion tour.
that's really what it was.
We
It
have,
was,
Kelly Schaefer from Atheist saying, we just got back, and if I had $1 for every time someone asked us what's going on with Cynic, I'd be a rich man. And,
I think it was that, really. It was, I remember there was a 2-week period where, Cynic was just obsolete. It wasn't existing in our consciousness. And there was this like 2-week window in the summer of '07 or '06,
it was '06.
where I just got a ton of people emailing and calling and just mentioning the band name. And it was literally like, it was a series of synchronicities. That's what it felt like. It was just, whoa, okay. And first it started with a kid from Russia who sent an email saying that he had a dream that he saw us playing Reunited at a festival, and it was really cool and all this. And I thought, oh, I remember forwarding it to Sean. And then after that, it was this like kind of avalanche of different, just like snowballing kind of from totally different, unrelated people and sources, just Cynic arising. And I think we just paid attention to it, and it just all of a sudden felt like organic and real. And it was like, well, let's just, what the hell? We have all the people that didn't get to see us play Focus. Let's give it a shot and go out there and do it with no intention of making a new record. It was just a reunion tour. And it wasn't until we did all that touring that we decided to go for it, and got really inspired and fueled up, and just saw that there was actually something out there happening, and there was a real scene, and that the scene evolved, and there was a whole new kind of batch of progressive experimental bands that were actually doing well. And it was like, wow, the time has come, it's back.
Who are you listening to right now? Who's got your ear?
God, I'm going back right now and listening to some. It's funny, I'm digging back into my iPod and kind of rediscovering some records. The Jellyfish Spilt Milk has been rotating again in my iPod. Amazing band from San Francisco. Kind of got the Queen Supertramp thing going on. And that Corinne Bailey Rae record that came out a couple years ago. Just beautiful voice. From to Schoenberg, 12-tone music.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And what have I been into? I guess I've been listening, the last couple records were Paul McCartney's first couple solo records, Ram and
Ram's
and
awesome.
what else? I like the Fleet Foxes. I got hip to them over the past year or so and been really kind of digging their stuff. And there's a jazz guitarist out of New York I really like. His name's Ben Monder, and he's kind of a really experimental, it's like kind of Pat Metheny in outer space kind of sound and player. Amazingly complex, but just phenomenal player. So those have been my latest things.
The one metal record I've been listening to, though, is the Animals as Leaders record.
That's a
That
good
seems
one.
to come up in my iPod quite often, actually.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's not fusion, but well,
It's a good mix,
Yeah.
and there's like the electronic element, the shred element, and
Yeah.
a lot of odd time.
yeah, for sure. That's a guitarist kind of
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. I want to get back to Trace and Air in a second, but it just occurred to me: are there any bands that you hear where it actually occurs to you we must have influenced this band? Does that happen a lot? Or?
No, what happens a lot is people in bands come up and say, if you guys didn't exist, we wouldn't sound the way we sound. And I'm actually kind of blown away by how many bands have said that. It's really interesting. Once again, it's kind of that shadow we couldn't escape with the Focus. Its canopy seems to spread pretty far, and it's an honor and a privilege, and it's pretty crazy, because we never set out to do anything like that. We just wanted to, kind of be selfish and do what we wanted to do and make the best record we could. And, it's, when you have, Dillinger Escape Plan coming up and saying, if there was no Cynic, there wouldn't be us, and,
and Opeth. And all that.
Opeth. And,
but what's funny is that I think people that, and this is kind of the nature of being such a trippy band, is that you get, when people get influenced by something we've done, you kind of end up going down your own road and finding your own language and experimenting, because we're not easy to copy. It's kind of a band that's just difficult to duplicate because it's such a layered and specific kind of thing, or even ambiguous kind of thing, that it's hard to kind of emulate. And so what I found is that bands that generally do kind of get into us end up finding their own sound, which is really cool. But I mean, there's been moments. There's certainly certain bands I've heard, or riffs that are like Cynic-ish. There's a certain kind of picking thing that's associated in maybe certain harmonic color, but never like blatant. I mean, you're starting to hear more vocoder, out there. It's kind of, some of the bands are using it as a color.
Less cool context.
Yeah.
I might say. Really. Yeah. I think Focus was the last time the vocoder was used as art, really. But
Yeah.
I might be exaggerating slightly. But speaking of the Cynic sound, that specific sort of sound, we're talking about how it's throughout Traced in Air. What made you decide to, I think as you put it, reinterpret a few songs from that for the Retraced EP?
Yeah, well, basically what inspired it was we had a month between a couple tours just a while back, and it was like, what's the most constructive use of this month? We didn't really have enough time to dig into new material, which has been kind of the larger goal. And it was just kind of this window, and it wasn't about decompressing, it was about moving and keeping the flow going. And I think we had Trace so in our bones now from having toured it for almost a couple years now, that it felt like we could turn this stuff inside out and show people a different perspective on the music. And we always knew it was there based on the demos of the Traced. Before we actually ever made the record, there was a series of demos, and the language was already kind of there that almost set up the EP to some degree, and then it was just more about kind of redefining it in a production sense. And I don't know, it was just an experiment, really. We were just kind of having fun and trying to kind of keep the creative juices flowing and keep some body of work out there. And it did tell us, too, that Cynic can do this now and still sound like Cynic. And so it kind of widened our, if there was a boundary, which I don't think there is, but if there was one, it feels stretched even further now. It was a little bit liberating for us too, like to kind of pull that off and see that it was workable.
Well, and the kind of ironic fold back on itself thing is we had kind of those feelings about releasing Focus because it was such a change from our demo sound. And I think one of kind of the special things about Cynic, or one of the, really cool things is, you don't know what to expect. We're always going to kind of do something different. And for us, that's obviously very liberating, but it's, it's definitely nice, to get the the approval from the fans that they're definitely understanding where you're going and not keeping
Well, it's
you
been a
inside
polarized
box.
reaction, though, hasn't it?
Well, are you?
It's kind of
you
been-
still get the people who want the demo songs and don't even
Yeah.
like Focus. So,
Well, I
you
think
know,
the really metal kind of scene definitely was like, whoa, what did they just do, you know? And then you get the more open scene that's just like, this is really cool. So it's, but I think polarization is good. We've always had that.
It's, I don't know, just interesting thinking about the different reactions because, you know, it's related to metal purists because I was thinking about the song Integral. It's not a heavy song, but I would still call it metal, I guess. So I guess it depends what kind of metal, you know, people want to headbang.
Right.
Interesting. So what's next? You're on tour now.
we are
Yeah.
finishing,
You're finishing
our
the-
first U.S. or
Yeah.
North American headline tour
Right.
ever, which is, again, you know, a wonderful thing because, you know, we're
Yeah, we've done shows, but never like a
we've
full
never
tour.
done a full
and
headline
done plenty
thing,
in Europe.
so it's
but
amazing to get, you know, a room full of Cynic fans and play for them for an hour and a half, and
yeah.
instead of going after playing a half hour and having kids go, God, I wanted to hear this song or this song. I've been waiting 15 years, and you know, so.
Well, I guess with 2 albums, you can actually play your whole
Yeah, we
catalog.
actually have a
Yeah.
catalog now. You know, that helps.
Yeah, we can do it, and I guess that's it. Really, we got another like couple weeks
2
left,
weeks.
and then we're
And then we're hopefully
diving into a
home.
new
Yeah.
album process.
Really?
The writing.
Yeah, just kind of gonna work away and go full time into just because I think what's been happening for us is just there's always been this tour looming around the corner, and it definitely inhibits the creative process for us to just need to shut it down. I have to turn the cell phone off and the computer and everything and just really go into the zone and not know that there's another tour and all that. So luckily we don't have anything. Well, now there's something that may come up, but we'll see. It's in October, and
It's amazing.
it's still. But otherwise, yeah, new album. That's
I
definitely.
mean, that's the main goal.
Yeah.
For sure. More music. So Cynic's not going to break up for another, you know, 12 or 13 years.
Thank you for
and-
not making me ask that.
Yeah.
Another 12-year away. You know,
Although it did work out. I don't know. You know,
fan span generations,
it.
that's for sure. Really. So just a few more questions. One, I was just thinking about what I said actually about Integral being a metal song. I see I'm getting confused in the interview I'm conducting even. And now I'm kind of wondering about that. Do you consider Cynic a metal band?
I mean, I think we have moments at times that indicate metal, especially when you get into some chunky guitars and a growl vocal, you know, like which happens. So there's definitely metal moments, then there's moments that aren't at all. So it's one of those things where what qualifies a metal band? Is it, do you have, how much percentage of it needs to be
is
versus...
it, you use double bass? Is it a
Yeah.
heavy guitar riff, you know?
And it's gotten so blurry, it really seems to me like we're definitely kind of finding, at least that's where it's going, is that it's just becoming a sound, and it's not necessarily associated with a particular genre, which I really like that. You know?
If you had to put a name, to me, the one I always use is just experimental. It's, you know, it's a new sound. I mean, it's got so many flavors in it that you know, go listen to it. It's normally my response is like, here's the website. You
Sounds
know,
like Cynic on your MySpace page.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the beauty of music. It's so subjective. Everyone kind of brings their own. And I get like people who do that, who hear it and they're like, yeah, no, this isn't that heavy, you know. And it's like because they're referencing some other really extreme form of music, or there's people that think it's insanely heavy because they don't listen to hard rock or metal at all. So it's definitely like one of those things. I think it just changes from person to person, but I think it'll just keep getting blurrier for us. You know, that's definitely where it's headed.
I mean, I don't think we're going to make a country record, but you know, once again, I'll never say
Never
never.
say never.
So-